My parents made me lose weight for my sister's wedding, but when I actually pulled it off, they couldn't handle how much I'd changed. I'd always been the big kid growing up. From as early as I can remember, I was larger than most of the other kids in kindergarten. While everyone else was still figuring out who they were, my size already made me stand out. As the years went on, the extra weight I carried became more noticeable. By the time high school rolled around, there was no denying it, I was overweight. My body shape made sure nobody forgot I was different. College didn't really change things. Some of my classmates were starting to figure themselves out, trying new things, becoming new people. Me? I stayed the same, still heavy, still wrestling with my body from time to time. It wasn't easy being the big one. It opened the door to constant jokes, mean comments, and the kind of teasing that sticks with you. I got bullied way more than I'd like to admit. My classmates didn't hold back. They mocked me like it was a sport. Those insults stuck. They planted deep insecurities and self-doubt I couldn't shake. I was the punchline more often than not. Kids called me names, made jokes, and laughed like I wasn't even there. I always felt like the odd one out, like I didn't deserve friends or kindness. I was left out of birthday parties, games, and hangouts. I'd watch everyone else enjoy childhood while I sat on the sidelines, unable to join in. All that bullying shaped the way I saw myself and how I dealt with the world. I didn't feel like I belonged with other kids, so I turned to books. I got lost in stories that gave me a break from my real life. Books didn't judge me. They didn't laugh at me. People started calling me a nerd, and I can't say I loved the label. My younger sister, Megan, was a whole different story. She was just a year younger than me, but had this magnetic charm that drew people in without her even trying. Megan came alive around others, while I kept to myself. She had this way of lighting up a room. Everyone smiled, laughed, and leaned in when she talked. Making friends came naturally to her. Honestly, it was like she had her own gravitational pull. Even though we were opposites, I loved her a lot. I took being her big sister seriously. I was proud to look out for her. When she started high school and joined me there, I was thrilled. At first, I felt special, like I had a real role in her life. But as she settled into high school and found her footing, things started to shift. I saw her noticing how different we were, especially in the way people treated us. I was the quiet, bookish type. She was the social butterfly, fun, outgoing, and instantly liked by the popular crowd. It was like she suddenly realized how uncool I was. The things that made me weird to others started to matter to her too. She began pulling away, choosing her new friends over me. Eventually, she started avoiding me altogether at school. And that stung bad. It broke my heart to feel like my own sister was embarrassed by me. Still, I tried to respect her space. I told myself it was her choice and I didn't want to make things worse. But it didn't stop there. Over time, she didn't just ignore me, she joined in with people who made me feel like a joke. Megan and her friends would mess with me whenever they saw me in the hall or at lunch. They'd shout mean things, try to trip me, anything to get a laugh out of the crowd. I felt like I was losing her to the same kind of cruelty that had always haunted me. Now I had to watch out not only for my classmates but for Megan too. It hurt more than I can say, especially since I'd always looked up to her. When she brought her friends over to the house, they'd gang up on me there too. They'd barge into my room without knocking, laughing and pointing at my body like I was some sideshow. They called me stuff like fatty and geek, like it was just harmless fun. But to me, it felt like I was some kind of zoo animal, something to gawk at and laugh about. My own bedroom stopped feeling safe. I felt invisible even at home. I tried talking to my parents about it. I wanted them to see how hard Megan was making things for me. But every time I brought it up, they brushed it off. They'd smile and say that's just how siblings play. They told me not to take it so seriously, to be the bigger person, literally and figuratively. They said I needed to toughen up because I was older. So I took it all, the bullying from classmates, the digs from Megan, and the silence from my parents. None of them really understood how much it hurt. I felt totally alone. The only time I ever felt like my parents actually saw me was when I brought home good grades. School came easy to me and I got used to getting A's. That became my one way of feeling good about myself. It was also the one thing that made my parents proud. They loved showing off my report cards to family and friends, bragging like my success proved they were great parents. Megan hated that. She didn't care much for school, and hearing them compare us all the time only made things worse between us. They held up my grades like a measuring stick, and it made her resentful. I could see the frustration building in her eyes. Maybe that's why she did what she did. Sometimes she'd sneak into my room late at night and mess with my schoolwork. especially right before something important was due. I'd wake up the next morning and realize my carefully finished work was missing. Panic would hit me like a truck. I'd tear through my books, papers, and folders, growing more desperate by the second. And there she'd be, Megan, just standing in the doorway, smirking like it was all a game, soaking in my panic like it was entertainment. For her, it was a cheap win, her little way of knocking me down a notch and reminding me I wasn't untouchable. She knew how much my grades mattered to me, how much of my self-worth I tied to them, and she loved messing with that part of my life. I didn't even know it was her until years later when she drunkenly confessed one night. These days, things between us are calmer, but we're not exactly close. I guess we've both grown up a bit, and some of that old resentment has faded. Still, we never developed that strong, inseparable sibling bond people talk about. After graduation, I packed up and moved to a new city. New job, new life, and that distance meant I didn't see my family all that much. Over time, our conversations dwindled down to the occasional phone call or random text. So when I planned a summer trip home last year, I was actually excited. It had been ages since we were all in the same room, and I was looking forward to catching up. At first, everything felt great. Everyone seemed happy to see me, and for a little while it felt like the good old days. But that didn't last long. Out of nowhere, Megan dropped the news she was engaged. We were all caught off guard. At first, I thought she was messing around, but then she held out her hand, proudly showing off a beautiful ring. I had to admit it really was stunning. And I was genuinely happy for her. She'd found someone who loved her, and that meant a lot. But almost right after the congratulations died down, Megan turned to me and asked what I'd been up to. I told her about my job, how well things were going, how proud I was of the life I'd built. Before I could finish, she cut in with a grin. I mean, if your life's so great, she said, why are you still fat? Her words hit me like a slap in the face. The room went dead silent. I could feel everyone watching, waiting for my reaction. I forced a shrug and let out a nervous laugh, trying not to show how much it hurt. Then my parents chimed in like they'd been holding it in. They started commenting on my weight, how I wasn't married, how they worried I'd never have kids. I was stunned. It felt like nothing I'd achieved mattered, not the career I'd built, not the independence I had. All they cared about was my size and my single status. It was like I was back in high school all over again, awkward, insecure, and desperate for their approval. My parents started praising Megan for getting engaged before me. Said they were proud of her. It didn't matter that I'd been successful in my own right. In their eyes, she was winning and I was just behind. What was supposed to be a warm family reunion had turned into a painful reminder of all the wounds I tried to heal. Megan didn't stop there. She kept going, asking if I had a boyfriend yet or when I planned to get married. She was clearly poking fun at me in front of everyone. My parents jumped right on the bandwagon, saying it was high time I found someone. They pointed out that Megan, who was younger than me, was settling down while I was just burying myself in work. I tried to explain that I liked my life the way it was, that my job made me happy and gave me a sense of purpose. I told them I didn't need a partner or kids to feel fulfilled. I said I was content. But it was like they didn't hear a word I said. My mom looked at me with a cold stare and said, "What's the point of all that money if you have no one to come home to?" It was like she couldn't imagine happiness without a husband or children. I sat there feeling completely misunderstood. This was my family, people who were supposed to know me, but they couldn't accept that my path didn't look like theirs. I had come home hoping for love and connection. What I got instead was judgment and ridicule. Then Megan tossed out one more jab, smiling like it was a joke. "Just make sure you've got a date by my wedding, okay? I don't want people thinking my sister is some sad, lonely woman while I'm tying the knot." That one cut deep. I just nodded and told her I'd try. Then my parents jumped in again, serious this time. "You've got a whole year until the wedding," they said. "Even if you can't find someone, at least lose some weight so you look decent in the photos." Megan nodded like she was doing me a favor. "Yeah," she added casually, "I just want you to look a little better, that's all." I sat there stunned, completely humiliated. My chest felt tight, like I'd been punched in the gut. How could my own family talk to me like this? Was I really so unlovable just because I was bigger? Did they honestly believe I didn't have feelings because I was fat? I was a regular person, just like anyone else. I worked hard, lived fully, had real emotions. I never thought of my weight as something holding me back, so why did they? I'd even dated men who liked me just the way I was. But according to my parents and Megan, my size was the reason I hadn't found real love, which just wasn't true. I wanted to speak up, to tell them how cruel they were being. But I sat there frozen. Their words had dragged me back to a place I thought I'd left behind, right back to the halls of high school, where every cruel comment chipped away at me a little more. I hated how casually my family brought up the things that cut me the deepest, like it was no big deal, like my feelings didn't matter. So I just sat there, swallowed the pain, and let the conversation drift elsewhere. But when I got back from that trip, something flipped in me. I threw myself into losing weight with a kind of drive I didn't even know I had. At first, it was all about proving something to them. But it quickly became personal. I joined a gym, stuck to a strict diet, and even hired a personal trainer. That trainer? Total game changer. She'd been in my shoes before, struggled with her weight, fought through it, and she knew exactly how to guide me. She built a plan around me, helped me stay on track, and reminded me to be kind to myself when I stumbled. For once, everything felt like it was clicking. The weight started coming off. And with every pound I lost, I felt a little lighter, not just in my body but in my mind. For the first time in my life, I felt different. My confidence shot up. I used to think losing weight wouldn't change much, but I was wrong. People treat me differently now. Strangers are friendlier. Friends and coworkers talk to me with a kind of respect I never noticed before. I won't lie, it feels like a kind of validation I'd never experienced. It's like people suddenly see me. With my new body came a new sense of style. I cleaned out my closet and bought clothes I used to only dream about wearing. I even changed my hairstyle, went bold, something trendy I'd never have had the nerve to try before. Maybe it cost a bit, but it was worth every cent. Now, when I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. It's like I've finally met the version of me that had been buried under all the noise. And I'm proud of that, proud not just of the weight loss, but of the confidence and self-worth I've gained. Megan's wedding is only 3 weeks away, and my family invited me to come down for a lunch next week to go over the final plans. But honestly, I don't want to go. I'm scared. I'm finally starting to feel good about myself again, and I don't want to walk back into that house and have them tear me down like they always do. I don't even want to go to the wedding. Not after everything they've said and done. Still, I know if I skip it, they'll lose their minds. I'll get the same tired speech about how family is family, and how I owe it to Megan to be there for her big day, no matter how I feel inside. So, ATA if I don't show up to my sister's wedding? Update 1, wow. I'm honestly overwhelmed by the response. Some of your messages had me laughing, especially the folks suggesting I crashed the lunch like a surprise reveal after my glow-up. Growing up as the fat kid crushed my self-esteem. I spent years thinking I wasn't good enough. But your support? It's helped me see myself in a whole new way. For the first time, I actually feel confident. In fact, I've decided I'm going to that family lunch. It's been ages since they last saw me, and since I'm not on social media, they have no clue what I look like now. I can't wait to see their faces. Update 2. Okay, Reddit, brace yourselves. Things got real. I flew down for the lunch. I figured if my family had pushed me into this transformation, they'd at least be proud when they saw it. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see the effort I'd put in. And let me tell you, when I walked into my parents' house, their jaws dropped. They looked at me like I was a ghost. After a few seconds of awkward silence, they started stammering, asking if it was really me. I gave them a big hug, grinning from ear to ear. Their reaction felt incredible. They kept complimenting me, saying I looked amazing, like they couldn't believe it was me. And then Megan walked in. At first, she didn't even register me. Just brushed past like I was invisible, same as always. But then I stood up to say hi and she stopped in her tracks. Her eyes went wide, and she let out this weird, awkward laugh. Then without asking, she reached out and poked at my stomach, like she needed to confirm I was real. My parents burst out laughing at her reaction, saying they hadn't believed it either at first. We all sat down for lunch and the questions started flying. They wanted to know everything, what I did, how I did it, how I changed so much. They acted like they'd never imagined I could ever look different. Megan especially kept repeating how shocked she was. Then she hit me with this gem. When I first told you to lose weight, I never expected you to look this pretty. I didn't even know you had a jawline or ankles under all that fat. I paused, took a deep breath, smiled, and said, Megan, I've always been pretty. Losing weight just brought it out. She wasn't done. Okay, but like, seriously, did you get surgery or something? There's no way you just look like this now. And that's when I felt my patience snap. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Wow, Megan. It's kinda sad that you think so little of me. No surgery. Just hard work and a whole lot of self-love. You might want to give it a shot sometime. Her face dropped. That smug look vanished. And honestly, It felt amazing to finally say something. Before she could fire back, my parents stepped in, trying to smooth things over. You shouldn't take it the wrong way, my mom said. We've just never seen you look like this before. Honestly, you're even more beautiful than Megan, and she's the one getting married. Megan looked downright furious after our mom made that comment. I didn't bother with her. I just focused on my food and let her stew in her own jealousy. Then out of nowhere, my mom chimed in with, maybe you should go back to your natural hair color. I think it'd look better. This new look makes you stand out too much. My dad and Megan jumped on board right away. Dad nodded and said, Megan's always been the blonde one and you've always been the brunette. It just fits better if you switch back. It'd help you look more like yourself. I sat there stunned, realizing they were all teaming up on me, again, trying to shrink me back into the version of myself they were more comfortable with. What they didn't know was that my stylist had actually recommended the blonde color. It suited my skin tone better. It had nothing to do with trying to compete with Megan. Sure, I looked good now, maybe even better than ever, but I didn't understand why my own parents were acting like it was a bad thing. It felt like they wanted to reverse everything, like they couldn't handle the fact that I'd finally become confident, attractive, and happy. They'd spent years pushing me to change. Then when I did, they hated who I became. That's when I asked them, what's your problem? Why can't I be blonde too? Does Megan own that hair color now? I paused, frustrated. No, she doesn't. I could be blonde or brunette, whatever I want. Why does it even matter to you? I couldn't understand it. Why were they so obsessed with pulling me back into my old shell? As if the way I looked on the outside had to match the girl they used to treat like a nobody. My mom scoffed and said I was just trying to steal the spotlight from Megan before the wedding. Then Megan chimed in. With all the weight you lost, you're already going to stand out, she said. Do you really have to take my hair color too? And of course, my dad backed them up like he always does. You're making a big deal out of nothing, he told me. You're her sister. You should be more understanding. That's when I realized they didn't care how I felt. They only cared about how Megan looked, how Megan felt, how Megan was perceived. My happiness? My growth? That didn't matter to them. I looked them straight in the eye and said, you know what? I'm done. My voice was low, but it shook with emotion. You're so wrapped up in your own judgment, you can't even acknowledge that I've changed. The truth is, I've always been great, but none of you ever saw that. Even now, it's still not good enough. No matter what I do, it's never enough for you. They stared at me silent. But I wasn't finished. Since you've always got something to say about me, maybe it's my turn to give you some advice. I turned to my mom first. You know what really bothers me? The loose skin around your eyes and mouth. The way your lips pull weird when you laugh. And those crooked teeth? Honestly, it's hard to look at. Her face froze in shock. I barely paused before turning to my dad. And you're bald. Completely bald. So maybe you shouldn't be commenting on anyone else's hair. You can't even grow your own. He stiffened, jaw clenched, but I still wasn't done. Then I turned to Megan. And you? Don't ever talk down to me again. Between the two of us, I've always been the better-looking sibling. Now that I've lost weight, you actually look bigger than me. Just look at those flabby arms. Megan's face turned bright red. She looked like she was about to cry. I raised my glass, took one last drink, then stood up and walked out, smirking as I left them all sitting there stunned. I had said everything I needed to say. I couldn't believe I'd actually said it, but I didn't regret a single word. Not after all the years they spent tearing me down. I flew straight back home after that. I didn't stick around for Megan's wedding. I didn't want to. Since then, my phone's been blowing up with texts and voicemails. My parents and Megan have been calling me names: disrespectful, rude, immature, all because I finally stood up for myself and walked away. My mom even begged me to come back, said it would look bad in front of Megan's in-laws if I didn't attend the wedding. So you know what I did? I skipped the wedding. Instead, I took all your advice and booked myself a last-minute staycation at a 5-star resort. And it turned out to be one of the best choices I've made in a long, long time. I spent the weekend doing whatever made me happy, no drama, no guilt, just peace. I got a full spa day, caught up on my favorite shows, and finally visited a few places around the city I'd been meaning to check out. And you know what else? I blocked them. I'm done being their emotional punching bag. I'm done letting them make me feel small. My focus now is on me, on healing, self-care, and living the life I fought hard to build. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my story.